Imagine taking reality and stripping it down to zero. Erase the Earth, erase the sun, the galaxies, the atoms, and the physical space between them. Delete time. Delete yourself. You are left with a pure void. Over 300 years ago, the German philosopher Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz looked at that terrifying hypothetical and asked a deeply frustrating question. Why isn't that the reality? Why is there something rather than nothing? To understand why this question gets under our skin, we have to look at our own biology. Human cognition evolved to hunt down causes. If a branch snaps in the woods, our ancestors survived by assuming a predator snapped it. We are hardwired to look for the agent, the trigger, the reason. We take a cognitive instinct built for dodging threats on the savannah and try to wrap it around the entire cosmos. We assume that because everything inside the universe has a cause, the universe itself must have one too. Pushing that instinct to its limit, trying to trace the chain of causes back to an absolute beginning, tests the absolute boundaries of our logic and quickly outpaces our science. If we want to find a beginning, we have to skip past the origins of humanity, Earth, and the stars, rewinding straight back to the earliest moments of our observable universe. Look at this timeline model, reversing the expansion of the cosmos. Notice what is actually happening. The universe is collapsing back into an incredibly dense, intensely hot state of existing energy. It isn't exploding from an empty void. The Big Bang describes a highly compressed universe expanding, not something springing from nothing. Even a quantum vacuum isn't true philosophical nothingness. A quantum state is physical, possessing mathematical structure, fluctuating fields, and strict laws. The concept of time itself might not even permit a clear starting point. Physicists like Stephen Hawking explored mathematical models of the early universe, where time has no definitive boundary. If time doesn't have an edge, asking what happened before becomes meaningless. To explain the specific physical laws we do have, some theoretical models suggest a multiverse. In this scenario, our cosmos is one particular bubble among countless other universes, each with its own distinct properties. But that simply pushes the mystery out one layer further. If a vast collection of universes exists, we immediately have to ask why the multiverse is there instead of nothing. We can track how physical energy transforms from one state to the next with extreme precision. But when we ask why physical reality is there to begin with, our equations hit a wall. Where physicists stall, philosophers have spent centuries trying to anchor the chain of existence. Thinkers like Avicenna and Thomas Aquinas looked for a first cause, a way to stop the endless loop of asking why. They proposed the idea of a necessary existent. You and I exist, but we didn't have to. A necessary existent is a foundational reality whose very nature dictates that it cannot not exist. It acts as the absolute floor holding up everything else. Look at this linear chain of cause and effect. This is the classic Western approach. Now watch what happens when we apply the Buddhist concept of dependent origination. The straight line breaks apart and reforms into a continuous, interconnected web of nodes. In this model, things arise strictly in dependence upon other conditions. The entire network supports itself simultaneously, entirely removing the requirement for an isolated, independent first trigger. Other ancient traditions embraced the ambiguity entirely. The Indian text known as the Nisadya Sukta outlines the creation of the cosmos, but ends on a note of radical humility. It suggests that perhaps even the highest divine being overseeing reality doesn't actually know how it all started. Whether we use Western theology, Eastern metaphysics, or modern quantum mechanics, human logic continually fractures when trying to define absolute zero. We are left staring at three distinct possibilities. 1. Reality is anchored by a necessary cause we don't fully comprehend. 2. Existence is merely a brute fact with no deeper meaning. Or 3. Our human concepts of time, cause, and beginnings are totally inadequate for explaining reality as a whole. The German philosopher Martin Heidegger believed the question was unanswerable because of our position. We are already trapped inside being. We cannot step outside the boundaries of reality to objectively examine it. That inability to find a concrete answer creates immense psychological friction. Albert Camus called this tension the absurd, the silent friction generated when our intense human desire for cosmic meaning crashes into an indifferent, quiet universe. Camus argued that we shouldn't retreat from that uncertainty. His resolution was to stare directly into the lack of a cosmic guarantee and fiercely choose to live a fully realized life anyway. And when you trace the timeline of those living beings, you hit a biological miracle. Over billions of years of cosmic evolution, stellar material cooled, bonded, and formed organisms. As Carl Sagan noted, those ancient atoms eventually arranged themselves into conscious brains. We are literally made of the material we are trying to understand. The existence of the universe is a staggering mystery, but an even greater puzzle is our presence within it. After 13 billion years of silence, reality woke up, looked around, and finally asked itself, why?